Welcome to the program on this Tuesday afternoon, December 30th. We are live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram. All episodes now available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube. Special guest in the house today, very interesting man, Matthew Cox, former title thief, who now educates homeowners on how title theft can happen. Cox spent 12 years in prison following a crime spree that included title theft, identity theft, and mortgage fraud, faking histories and creating counterfeit documents to extract fraudulent loans and disappear with homeowners' equity. He elaborated schemes spanned across several states and placed him on the Secret Service most wanted list. He now educates homeowners on how to avoid becoming a victim of title theft. Matt, interesting guy. How are you? Welcome to the program today.
Well, thanks for having me.
For sure, man, for sure. I saw this by Frank pitched me this idea and I was like, this man is very interesting. I gotta have him. I gotta sit down with him and pick his brain a little bit. When was the first time you got caught up in this sort of thing, title theft, and what exactly is title theft?
Well, the first time I was arrested for it or how I got involved in it?
Yeah, how you got involved in it. Yeah.
I actually started, I was a mortgage broker and, not a particularly good mortgage broker. I was actually committing fraud to help get my clients loans. So if you walked in and you were trying to buy a house and you made $60,000 so you couldn't get the loan, but if you made $65,000 you could get the loan, I would change the W-2s and pay stubs and send it to underwriting. The bank would lend you the money. That eventually got me, I eventually got in trouble. I was placed on probation. And when I was placed on probation, I was no longer able to be a mortgage broker. And that led me to starting to commit title fraud. And I just kind of figured out that I was able to, eventually I figured out I was able to rent people's houses. And I didn't even need to rent that. Really the first one I ever did, I didn't even rent the house. It was a guy that owned his home. I knew he had a criminal record, and I stole his identity, created fake identity in his name, or fake driver's license in his name, opened up several bank accounts in his name.
Man.
And keep in mind, I did not have his social security number. So I just made up a social security number. I actually used the social security number for like a 10-month-old child, and I created a synthetic identity. So it's kind of like a merge of his identity and a fake identity.
Yeah.
And then I opened up several bank accounts, and I was able to refinance his house several times. I think I did it 3 times and pulled out some money and, put the money in the bank and pulled out the money. And he eventually was picked up by the police and questioned because he was living in the house.
Right. You had no
So
idea.
he's living in that. Imagine someone showing up at your house. You find out someone has 3 mortgages on your house, and the police picked you up and they started questioning. So they're questioning you.
Right.
He's going, I didn't do this, but he also had a criminal record. So I knew he was going to have some problems. They weren't going to believe him.
Right.
And what ended up happening ultimately is they let him go, and it got resolved. But so that's the kind of thing I started doing. I was doing multiple scams, but that's the scam that I'm, kind of known for, is that I started doing that sort of thing. I was running multiple scams. I ended up running a kind of a fraud ring, real estate fraud ring, making synthetic identities. Eventually I was able to convince Social Security to issue me Social Security numbers for children that don't exist. So I would make like a fake birth certificate, a shot record. I'd go into Social Security and say, I had a child that was born, he's 10 months old, and he's never had a Social Security number issued. And I had a whole story why, he's born with a midwife, not in a hospital.
Yeah.
I have all the documents. They look at him, they look it up, and they go, oh, wow, you're right. He doesn't have a Social Security number. They would then issue a Social Security number to the child.
Wow.
And I would then start applying for credit cards. I wouldn't say it was a 10-month-old child. Obviously, I'd say it's a 33-year-old man. I'd get a bunch of credit cards, build a credit profile, and then I'd start buying houses and refinancing the houses. And I was able to record the value of the homes at a much higher price. So it's a little bit more complicated than that. I was able to I'd buy a house for, let's say, $50,000, but I would record the sales price in public records at 250,000. If you do that enough times in an area, it drives the price of the area up.
Right.
So
Right.
now I have multiple fake people who own 4 and 5, 6 houses in their names that they bought for 50,000 a piece, but an appraiser comes in and from the bank would say the house is worth 250, 200,000, 220. And I was able to refinance those houses and pull that money out. Eventually I ended up going on the run because the FBI, I was working with someone else. He got caught. He worked with the FBI at that time. They put together a task force, investigated me. I'd borrowed like $11.5 million. And so just before they came to arrest me, a friend of mine who was a sheriff's deputy, he told me that the FBI was going to arrest me. I took off on the run. And when I was on the run, that's when I started stealing people's identities. And the same thing, I would get a real estate agent and sometimes I would buy a house. So you might have your house up for sale, $250,000. And I would come in and I would buy your house, and then I would satisfy the loan on the house. And then I would borrow 4 or 5 mortgages on the house at the same time, put that money into multiple bank accounts, pull the money out and leave.
Wow.
And it's title fraud. Sometimes I would just rent the house. Like I'll give you an example in Alpharetta, Georgia, which is just outside of Atlanta. I rented a house one time from someone. The house was probably worth, I don't know, a couple $100,000. So I rented the house. So when I moved in the house, I went downtown and I created what's called a satisfaction of mortgage in the name or from the bank. So the person I rented the house from, his name was Michael Shanahan. He had a couple mortgages actually with Bank of America. I created multiple satisfaction of mortgages from Bank of America. So when you pay off your mortgage, the bank creates what's called it's a 1-page document, satisfaction of mortgage, and they record it with public records. I just made a copy. I just made my own.
You made your own copy.
And you need a notary stamp. So I would order multiple notary stamps and I would get a notary stamp. Like they'll give anybody a notary stamp.
Yeah.
It would be it's just a made up name, number, and I'd get it and I'd notarize it and I'd sign it from somebody at the bank and I'd record it. And so now I'm living in that house, a $200,000 house in the name of the owner who's owned it for 10 years and there's no mortgages on the house. So I then went and I applied for 3 different mortgages and 3 different lenders lent me money on the house. And I then put that money into multiple bank accounts. I think I got $450,000 and then I left. And so one day the true owner of the home, Michael Shanahan, he hasn't got his rent payment. He shows up to serve an eviction notice.
Right.
And he checks the mail and sees that there's a bunch of foreclosure notices in the mail in his name.
In his name.
So of course he immediately calls the Secret Service, or it calls the local police. They give him the Secret Service. Secret Service looks at it and says, wow, this is aggravated identity theft and, obviously bank fraud. And so that's how they got involved. And the FBI was already looking for me at this point.
Right. On the run.
Right.
What's the first time you got arrested? Who was it for?
First time I got arrested was for doing a similar, first time I got arrested. Jeez. Listen, there's been a few times. I'm not a nice person. I've been arrested quite a few, and I'd love to say like I'm innocent, but I'm 100% guilty. Every time I've been arrested, it's not like it was a mistake. So I was arrested once when I was a mortgage broker. I had done several fraudulent loans, and the FBI found out about it. A confidential informant told them, and they called me, and I got a lawyer, and I ended up pleading guilty. So I was charged by the FBI the first time I got arrested. And that was it was fraudulent mortgages. I had done 3 fraudulent mortgages for like $500,000 on 3 different properties. And there was no dollar loss. So I got lucky. I got 3 years probation.
Wow.
But that's when where I should have done the right thing, which was maybe, kind of restart my life, move into my old bedroom at my parents' house or something like that. I was 30. And I just, I had that criminal mindset, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to be embarrassed. I didn't want to step backwards. Instead, I just decided I was going to go all in and start committing fraud because I felt like I was good at it, despite the fact that I'd just been caught.
Yeah.
Criminals don't think logically all the time.
Is that like an adrenaline rush for you? Like it's a high for you?
It definitely was, and the reason I say that, I feel like that's kind of cliche, but it's true. And here's why. What the first time I committed fraud, I remember telling myself, like, I was desperate for the money, and I was in a position to do it, and I had the ability to do it. So, and I could justify it, right? Like I was getting people loans at first, so I was able to justify it. So I committed fraud, and I told myself, listen, I'm just going to do it this one time. I just need to pay my bills.
Right.
Then I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
But now my bills are paid. Then
Yeah.
it's like, if I could just get my credit cards, if I just get out of debt, then you get out of debt. Then you say, if I just could get $100,000 in the bank, then it becomes 500,000. Then you get the 500,000. Then it becomes 1,000,000. Then if I could just get 2 million, then it's 2 million. And then that line just kind of disappears, because by that point, I had become so emboldened by my successes that I started thinking I was invincible, and that I wasn't going to get caught because I was just so smart.
Yeah.
I was just too smart for him,
Yeah. Above
despite
everybody else.
then getting caught.
Right.
I look back and I think, as an older person, you look back the things you did when you were 20 and 30, and you think, well, you were a real idiot. Like, that was really stupid. Like, why did that? And I would talk to that person now and just go,
What
you
were you
don't see
thinking?
how this is going to go wrong?
Yeah. Made a lot of money your day. What was the most expensive thing you bought? A gift you bought for yourself or somebody else? Elaborate gift you bought.
I've had that asked before. I mean, I don't feel like I didn't, look, I wasn't so arrogant that I wanted to draw attention to myself.
Okay.
So, I drove $100,000, Audi. I think, what was it? Was it an A6 or something? I had like $100,000 Audi. I've had the sports cars. I've had, BMW. Keep in mind, this is 20 years ago. So that $100,000 Mercedes is now a $200,000 Mercedes. So I've had a few sports cars. I've taken some great vacations, and I've lived in some decent houses, but not in the
Fancy.
millions,
Not
nothing
millions. Yeah.
outrageous.
Right.
I was very low profile. I'm not trying to attract attention.
To yourself, for sure.
Right.
Now is, this time of the year, the holiday season, right? Everyone's like running around different directions. Meanwhile, at the local courthouse, right? Many public employees are on vacation. What a perfect time for your home to be stolen right under you. I mean, how smart are these guys that work at the public clerk's office there?
Right. I mean, I don't want to say they're not smart, but this is somebody making, $22 an hour,
Yeah.
and they're just trying to get through their day. And to be honest, they're really kind of handcuffed. So let's say I went in, let's say I could create right now, I could go to your house,
Yeah.
and I could get your home address, and I don't have to go to your house. I just need your home address. I'd look it up in public records, and I could create a fake warranty deed, right? Like a deed. And I got to have you it'd have to be from you transferring your deed into my name. And then I could go downtown and I could file that deed.
Yeah.
That's typically the first thing I would do. And sometimes I just pretend to be you.
Right.
But
No
I would
idea.
file that deed. And even if I showed up at the clerk's office, the public records, and I went to the clerk and I gave it to them, and they looked at it and they thought, this doesn't look right.
Yeah.
The font's wrong, the signature's kind of messed up. But if I had checked all the boxes, there was the OR book and page number, there was the instrument number, there was all the numbers are right, all the dates are correct, the amount's correct, the correct person signed it, it's notarized, even if they thought, boy, this does not look right. Even if they heard the person behind me who was with me saying, do you think they're going to buy it?
Yeah.
Do you think they'll believe it? Oh my gosh, do you think they're going to know doesn't matter. By law, they have to file that document. They cannot call the police. They cannot say, I need to talk to your supervisor, or you need to talk to the supervisor, nothing. I've even interviewed, I work for a company doing consulting work called Home Title Lock. And for them, I actually interviewed the head of public records at a county. And I also do speeches and classes for local law enforcement. So I'll go in and teach a class on the whole thing. And I've also done it for public records. And they've all said, yeah, there's just nothing we could do.
Yeah.
That whole document could be written up in green crayon.
And there's nothing they can do.
We
Yeah.
have to file it.
Yeah.
And if you go to them and say, hey, my house was just, they transferred the deed to someone else. What do I do? They would say, I mean, that sounds like you have to take care. I don't know. You could call the police. You could do, I don't know. That's up to you. They can't even advise you on how to proceed. So, so it's not that they're not smart. They're just kind of barred from doing a lot.
Right.
And so that person's going to record the deed. There's not much they can do. And it's the problem is that the public thinks that these people are looking out for you, or maybe they think they're stupid. But they're barred from doing a lot of the things that they could do to protect you. And listen, and most of the time, you would look at my deeds; they were perfect, they were flawless. Right. They don't think a thing's wrong.
Right.
Look at me.
Yeah.
I look like someone you want to lend money to.
Right.
I look like someone you trust.
Right.
I'm well spoken. The documents are perfectly correct. And if you ask me for my ID, here's my ID. Here's my social security card. Now, it's not going to be my social security card.
Right.
Not mine. Not going to be my credit card.
All the boxes are checked.
Right. But you don't know that.
Guess yourself. You don't know that. Yeah.
Right. So that document that now I've just transferred your property into someone else's name.
Yeah.
You don't even know that. You're not even notified.
Yeah. It's crazy. Like you said, handcuffed. You spent a dozen years right in prison following a crime spree, including theft, identity theft, mortgage fraud, faking credit card histories, creating counterfeit documents to extract these loans. What was it like in the 6x9 in jail for you? What was that like? The experience that was, what is jail really like? And the craziest thing you saw when you were there?
So I was in a federal prison.
Wow.
Most people think, it's funny. I think a lot of people too. Some people will hear federal prison.
Nice. It was great versus the other prisons, right?
It's actually much nicer than the other prison. And I'm not, keep in mind when I got arrested, I didn't know anything about prison. I'm thinking Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm thinking I'm going to
Alcatraz.
Yes, of course.
Yeah.
People are getting, there's fights and riots and people are getting hurt. But I went to a medium security prison. And then very quickly, I went to a low security prison. It was like a real crappy high school. But most of the time, you keep your head down, and people they don't bother you. Like you don't have to. How can I put it? Most people in prison, if they have problems, they brought it on themselves. They talked bad about other people, so they gossiped, or they ran up debts they couldn't pay, or they gambled, or they got into a fight over the TV. Stupid things like I worked as a GED tutor. I taught real estate classes. So I didn't have any real major problems, but obviously you don't want to be there. It's a horrible experience, but it wasn't the violent experience that you think. Now, had I done something violent, they would have sent me to a penitentiary and I would have had issues. But the Bureau of Prisons and most prisons in general, they segregate you based on your offense level and your security levels. And they very quickly, they can figure out like, this guy's not, he's going to follow the rules. He may have stolen $15 million or $55 million or whatever, but in here, I promise you, he's going to follow the rules. He's a rule follower for the most part. And then they also know the guys that like, hey, this guy's going to be a problem.
Yeah, they know.
But regardless, it is a horrible experience. I mean, I was locked up 13 years. It's horrible. You're visiting your family every 2 weeks. If you're lucky, you're getting 15-minute phone calls. The food's horrible and everything in general. You're not exactly with amazing people.
Yeah. Did you meet anybody that was interesting in there? Any friends you meet and still?
Oh yeah. I have friends that I've been out over 5 years, almost 6 years. I've kept in touch with people. I got a phone call from someone today that's sitting in an airport right now that was just released from prison.
Wow.
That I've spoken with the entire time. I have friends that have gotten out. Like I have lifelong friends. I've met some amazing people. There are some great people.
Yeah.
And these are guys that they committed crime and but they're good guys. You don't have to be horrible in every aspect of your life. And most times, if you're lucky, you get sentenced and you get in jail and you kind of have an epiphany and you say, I've got to change my behavior. This is not working.
Yeah. Yeah. You now educate homeowners, right? How to avoid becoming a victim of title theft. Is this self gratification for you now in this point in your life right now, where you're at right now?
Yeah, I like it, and it's funny because it's a crime that people when I was doing the crime, I was getting away with it for a long time because, 1, it was a new crime. It wasn't happening a lot.
Yeah.
Like, title theft is happening all the time now. It's constant. And they're even finally, even the newspapers are covering it more. Like, it's been getting more and more, uh, prolific, let's say, but now even the newspapers are acknowledging it, right? Because it's easy to say credit card fraud. Like, everybody knows what that is. When you say title theft, then you have to kind of explain,
It is.
right? So people
Yeah.
don't really understand. So oh, he committed fraud and stole the house. Now they're getting to the point where people are starting to kind of understand what's happening and realize that it is possible. It happens all the time, and you're extremely vulnerable. Do you know what is a safer crime for me to commit? Title, other than between credit card fraud, check fraud, or home title theft?
Let's say maybe check fraud, maybe?
Home title theft.
Home title
I
theft.
have to
Wow.
file 1 or 2 documents, and then I just have to go apply for a loan to get a loan on your house, and you're never notified. You're never
How's
know That's the
how's that even
problem.
how crazy is that though? How that just slips through the cracks just like that? You never
It
notified.
that's the whole thing, is that's kind of what I preach, is like, look, you can't take those documents, your documents up from your deed and your mortgage and all those documents that are public records that you can sit in a Starbucks and pull up on your laptop. Those documents, you can't hide those. So the only real protection is for you to get notified the moment something changes on your title. If the mortgage is satisfied, or the warranty deed is switches to somebody else's name, and you get notified, it gives you an opportunity to contact law enforcement. And then if something irrevocable happens, if you have some kind of a service, like I said, I work for, or I do consulting work and promotions for Home Title Lock. Is if you have a company like Home Title Lock, then they will work as an advocate for you to correct the problem, and they'll even hire an attorney to correct the problem. Because even if you get notified, what are you going to do? If I
Yeah, what
told
do
you
you
right now
yeah.
your title's been transferred.
Yeah, what do you do? Like,
Yeah, you'd
yeah.
say, oh, you'd have no idea. Unless
Yeah.
you have 20 grand and you want to go to a real estate attorney, you don't know what to do. I mean,
Yeah.
you run a podcast.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I'm not a real estate attorney. I don't know how to navigate this system.
No
So
idea.
Home Title Lock will actually go and get you an attorney that will correct that issue, and they'll help you file your paperwork with law enforcement. They work as, like I said, as an advocate for you. So
Do all the legwork for you. Yeah.
correct. And also, here's the thing. Here's why a lot of these guys we're doing, you know, check fraud, credit card fraud, those types of frauds are moving to title fraud, is because, 1, of course, all that information is very accessible, and 2, it's extremely lucrative.
Yeah.
I mean, my fraud is in the $55 million. I personally was held accountable for $15 million in fraud. That's 50. I mean, every time I committed this fraud, I wasn't making $5,000. I'm making 100,000,
Yeah.
90,000,
Six digits.
250,000.
Yeah. Big
And
money.
yeah, I'm filing some paperwork. I'm walking into the bank. We're getting an appraisal. They're lending me money based on the value in your home. And a lot of people will say, well, yeah, I live in a $500,000 house, but I have a mortgage on the house of, 490,000. I really don't have any equity. That doesn't matter. I'll just go downtown. It's a one-page document. I'll satisfy the mortgage on your house. Now it looks like there's no mortgage, and then I now have an asset of $500,000. I can go to the bank, even if the person that I placed the title in their name, let's say that person is a homeless person. And I've done this multiple times. I would survey a homeless person, get all their information, go get a driver's license in their name or an ID, open up multiple bank accounts, transfer your house into that homeless person's name, go into the bank, and say, I want to borrow money against this house. And they would say, okay, well, the house is worth $300,000. And I go, right, but I own it free and clear. And they say, okay, well, you have horrible credit. You have no credit. Matter of fact, you owe $20,000 in medical bills. This actually happened. I actually had paid off $20,000 in medical bills on a guy's, on a homeless person's, on their credit. And they said, we're not going to lend you 300,000. We're only going to lend you 200,000. So they lend him, and I actually did this. I went to multiple banks and did this at the same time, but they then lend you $200,000. I get that check. I put that check in the multiple bank accounts,
Right.
and I remove the money in cash and leave. The homeowners didn't know this had happened until a month or so later when the Secret Service called them to tell them their
What
house had
happened?
been stolen, and I'd borrowed on that house. I'd borrowed multiple mortgages. Actually, it was like $700,000 or $800,000 I borrowed on a house that was worth a couple $100,000
Can
in a
stuff like
homeless person's name.
in a homeless
No
person,
credit.
just unbelievable. Can stuff like that be reversed? What happens next to them? What happens
I
next?
mean, you have to get a real estate attorney. They have to contact. First, you have to prove to them that you weren't involved.
Yeah,
Because what if I did it in your name?
in your name, right? It's hard to
Right.
like counter. Like, how do you go about that, right? Like,
You're a suspect now.
yeah, you're a suspect now.
So you have to contact law enforcement. You have to file police reports. You have to hire an attorney. The attorney has to file paperwork. And keep in mind that the lenders,
Yeah.
they're trying to foreclose on the
Trying to
property.
yeah, exactly. So you have no
Because you
time.
can say, oh, no, I'm a victim. I'm a victim. I'm a victim. And they're going to say, listen, all we know is
You
that
did this,
the person that owns this house
right?
borrowed this money and isn't paying. We're foreclosing. So you have to, and you would think, oh, well, everybody would be understanding. No, they wouldn't. No, they're not.
No, they're not understanding.
It's
No.
a machine, right? Like
Yeah,
the guy's
yeah.
not paying. It goes to the collections department, then to our foreclosure department.
Right.
So there's a lot so you suddenly have to become an expert in real estate fraud and real estate law and all these things. And now, you know how all of that could have been avoided?
Yeah.
If the moment I borrowed any money or satisfied one loan on that property or transferred the title to that property, those people got an email that said, hey,
Notified. Yeah, something's up.
yeah,
Yeah. Did
exactly.
you do that?
Did you
do
just sell
that?
your
Yeah.
house?
Yeah. You'd be like, no, you
No.
caught it right away. Yeah. Before it got too late. Looking back now in your life, where you're at now versus back then, the tipping point in all of this, you said enough is enough. I just can't do this anymore. Time to change my life for the better.
Yeah, well, I mean, right around when I was sentenced, I was like, oh,
Yeah.
I don't have
I don't
another
wanna do
run in
this.
me.
Yeah.
These guys
Yeah.
are serious.
Yeah.
You know, I'd gotten such a slap on the wrist the first time that I just didn't anticipate that I could get the kind of time I got.
Yeah.
And then it didn't happen right away. It was an epiphany. It wasn't, it wasn't like a come to Jesus moment. It was more of a gradual thing where I just started realizing like, I can't continue my life like this. And I don't want to be here anymore. And I certainly don't want to come back.
Yeah.
And then it's funny because this is funny. I used to get up early in the morning on like Saturdays and Sundays, and you
Right.
get up early because the guards count. So they would count, and I'd get up and I'd go get coffee because the TV rooms, everyone would sleep in on the weekends. So I would go in the TV room and I'd turn on the TV, and the only thing that was on, because we don't have a lot of channels,
Right. Local
was-
channels, right? Yeah.
there was an infomercial that would run over and over again from Home Title Lock. And I
Man.
would sit there with my coffee, and I go, like, this is what I was doing.
Yeah.
And so they would interview a lawyer, and they'd interview a title person, and they'd interview a victim, and they'd interview an FBI agent. And then they would semi-interview the person committing the fraud. But you know who that was? That was a guy with a hoodie
Yeah.
sitting behind a computer that
Yeah.
his voice was morphed. All
Yeah.
kind of rah, rah, rah.
Yeah. You can't even hear anything. Yeah.
Right. And I thought to myself, they don't have a guy, because guys like me don't go to prison and decide that they want to advocate for some kind of a security measure against this. Guys like me go to prison and they think, how do I perfect my scam and do it again better? So they're not going on TV.
Right. Like,
And I thought they need someone like me. And so when I got out of prison, I have a buddy who contacted them and said, hey, I have a friend who did this. And I think he'd be perfect. And I just started doing podcasts telling my story.
Right.
And so they contacted me and we got on the phone I was on the phone with them within hours.
Wow.
And they were like, this is great. This is a perfect fit. We'd love to talk to you. And then so next thing I know, probably a month or so later, they flew me out. I started doing, started doing work for them. I did a couple commercials for them, and I do stuff for them every once in a while. And it's a great service. What I especially like is that they actually will correct it, because that is a huge problem. How do I correct this?
Correct this. Yeah. Yeah. Do you believe in second chances, a higher power?
Yeah,
Glad you got a second chance.
absolutely.
Yeah.
You don't listen. You don't get through prison without going crazy if you don't believe in something. I'm a big believer. I don't typically talk about it because people frown on it and give you a hard time. But I there's something that has cleared the path for me ever since I kind of decided, hey, I just can't behave this way. And I just need to try and be a decent person. And if things work out, they work out. If they don't, well, then at least you're a decent person. You're at
Yeah.
least doing the right thing.
For
And
sure.
and I think that's what resulted in my second chance.
Yeah. For sure. He's Matthew Cox, former title thief criminal who now educates homeowners on how title theft can happen. Why are homeowners unaware? Like we talked about that, right? They've been targeted until serious damage is done. They're just, are they like just not stupid, but just like we're just everyday people, right? We're just not really thinking about. We're not getting an email. We're not
Yeah.
getting a heads up, right? Like they're just
Yeah, and
unaware.
there's not enough, like, there's not enough understanding of the crime. And people will tell, oh, that people will argue with me. That
Yeah.
can't happen. Well,
To
then why
me.
did I go to prison? I
Yeah.
just did 13 years because
Yeah.
what? This doesn't happen?
Happens to anybody. What kind of thing this happens to? Like old people, middle-aged, younger people? Can it happen to anybody? Who's
It
at
can
risk
happen
here?
to do you own a house? Yes,
Yeah.
you're vulnerable.
Yeah. That's
And if
it.
people will, is it a certain type of house? I tell you right now, I can walk down my street. That house looks good. That house look. You don't even have to have a house on it. It can be a vacant lot. People think, oh, I own some land. Well, really, are you checking the title on that land every single day? Because vacant land is a great one you can do it on. I can change the title of that land. I can list that land. I can sell that land because you don't even drive by those 6 acres that you own in the middle of,
Nowhere.
Sassa,
Yeah.
Florida. Like
Yeah.
you live in New York.
Yeah. No idea.
Listen, it doesn't. It can be commercial property. It can be. There's all kinds of ways to do. Do you remember Grace? The woman did this to Graceland.
Wow.
Yeah,
Really?
she got caught at the last minute. She was trying to set no, she was foreclosing on Graceland,
And she got
and they
caught
caught
last
her
second, last minute.
last second before she actually foreclosed. And here's the problem is that if you file the right paperwork, the legal system isn't your friend because you have the paperwork.
Work. Yeah. Yeah. You have everything there. That's what it is. What are the early warning signs that your title may have been compromised? Is there any warning signs to look out for?
Unless you have a service that notifies you, the early warning signs are you get a foreclosure notice that some bank's foreclosing on your house. Maybe they're foreclosing on the house in your name.
Yeah.
Maybe they're foreclosing on your house in someone else's name. Like, and that's how bad it is. It could have happened 4 months ago. Sometimes I would make the mortgage payments for 5 or 6 months
To make it
just
seem
to make
everything
sure
is okay.
I had 6 or 8 months because they don't foreclose for months.
Right.
Just
Right.
to
Takes
make sure
time.
it had been 8 months. I'd been gone for 8 months before these people even got notified by the bank that they weren't paying on a mortgage that they never took out.
Any documents, letters, emails, homeowners should never ignore.
Yeesh. I mean, I certainly would not ignore anything dealing with my home that looked legitimate, said that there was foreclosure or, well, that's a horrible question because it's how many documents do you get in the mail every day?
Every day, so many
It's
emails and
your
spam and junk. You don't even know what's what right anymore sometimes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just, it's a very dangerous world, and it always seems like, listen, I had my identity stolen.
Really?
Yes, someone took out an iPhone in my name, mailed it to a house in like Iowa where I've never been. And
Man.
I mean, and I'm vigilant
Yeah. Yeah.
about these things.
Right.
How it's you just have to constantly be your own advocate, and you have to constantly be checking your credit and your title, or you have to have a service looking out for you. If you
Yeah,
don't want to be doing this several times a day, then you need a service.
for sure. How do scammers gain access to information to commit these type of things so easily?
I mean, the data breaches that are your social security number, your
Yeah,
full name, your data for everything on you has already been stolen.
yeah,
It's on a site somewhere. It's just that, is it in a batch that a fraudster is going to buy or not? And then if they buy it, are they going to be able to utilize it? They call them fulls. You can go
false.
on many, many sites and buy fulls, and it'll have your full information. And it ranges from anywhere between $3 and $15.
Yeah.
Sometimes you could pay $25 or $30 and it'll come with like a full credit card number of yours in your
Like
name.
that in your name.
It's I mean, pick up, Google it. Like
Yeah,
it's always hundreds of thousands of leaks
yeah,
all the time. And listen, the other thing is, back when I was doing it, I would just run an ad in the newspaper. Now you could obviously do it on any number of services where you're advertising some kind of a service. Like I would put, good credit, bad credit, no problem, home loans available, call now, free applications. And people would call me to apply for, and the ad looked very legitimate.
right.
These were very legitimate back then. Now obviously you could do a targeted ad in an area, or just in general on Facebook, on anything, to apply for a mortgage. Or maybe it's a job posting website where they ask you to they just go through and they get your application and they contact you, and you think you've got a job, and they send you an application you have to fill out. And one of them, of course, is a W-9, and you write there, you give them your full name and your social security number. Somewhere in the application, they have your date of birth. You think you just got a brand new job. They just take it and leave.
And they never hear from them again.
Of
That's it.
course.
What are the top steps homeowners can take right now to protect their property title? Any things that homeowners can do right now?
I mean, once again, it's getting a service, I always recommend Home Title Lock. It's getting someone to look after your title, to constantly to monitor your title. That's really what you need. You need monitoring. You monitor your typically you monitor your credit cards.
Yeah,
I get notified every time my credit card is used. I'll get the little ding, the little push note.
yeah.
Bing,
That's
someone just bought a $12 coffee at Starbucks. And,
yeah,
as soon as I go up and I do it, I get the little ding.
yeah.
So, you do that, you check your credit card balances and your purchases constantly. And this is something that, and credit cards are really pretty safe. You get a $500 charge on your credit card. You can call the credit card company and say, that wasn't me. They're going to put
Dispute
that
it
money
right
right
away.
back on the card within 24 hours. It's called the Electronic Transfer Act. And by law, they have to. Someone takes out a $200,000 mortgage on your house, you're about to have a real problem.
I mean, is it very important right now, right? Checking these public records, property records. How often should we do this stuff? Like yearly, monthly, just as homeowners?
Yeah, I think if you have a service, it's on autopilot. If you don't have a service, then you need to be checking your title every day. And most of them are online. You could do that. I just don't know who's going to be that vigilant.
Yeah,
And once again, it's not just the notification or knowing that something happened, even if you would know what to look for in a title. But if you did, well, what would you do now?
yeah, exactly. Like,
Yeah, you need a service that will take care of that problem. Like if you called law enforcement, they'd say, "Oh, okay,
yeah,
well,
all right,
we'll write up a report."
yeah, that's it. And then wash their hands clean and move on to the next story.
Yeah,
And then you're still stuck.
they're not getting a team together.
Yeah,
They're not going to
exactly.
start a
Yeah,
task force. They're not
yeah,
flying in the FBI on the jets.
yeah, yeah.
Let's get on this, fellas.
Right.
They have bigger problems.
To do. So something like this happens. Who do you contact first? Law enforcement, attorney, county recorder, mortgage lender.
Yeah,
What's
I
the
would
first thing
contact
you
law
do if
enforcement.
something happens? Law enforcement, right? Like you said.
Yeah, law enforcement. I would contact law enforcement, so you at least get the police report written up. And then, of course, from the police report, you at least have a document when you contact the lender or
Okay.
whomever is, however the transaction, because there's different versions of this scam. At least then you have an official document that you can say, this is a fraud. I've already filed a police report. Here's the name of the officer or detective or whoever. You can at least say because they're always going to ask for a police report.
That's the first thing they asked for, right? Police report.
When that guy got the new iPhone, the
Yeah.
first thing they asked when I was like, that wasn't me. They were like, do you have a police report?
Yeah.
Well, I'll
Man.
come back with one.
Like we were talking a little earlier, can this stuff be reversed, and how long typically does it take to get everything back in the fold and back to normalcy? Is there such a thing as normalcy?
If you have an attorney,
Okay.
it's a process of about 3 to 6 months typically. I mean, I'm not an attorney, and I'm sure it varies in the different states and counties, but because this is a very local thing, like these are counties that this is happening in. The FBI typically will get involved if it becomes if identity theft and bank fraud are involved. Most of the time, the FBI will get involved, or if you jump states.
Okay.
So, but a lot of times these guys will, they do and it's hard to put these together, right? So if I do it once in Hillsborough County,
Right.
I borrow 4 mortgages in your name, or get 3 hard money lenders or private equity lenders, and it's not hard to do. If you have an Airbnb, how easy is that? I rent your Airbnb for 2 weeks. I can borrow $500,000 on it in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
So you do that, and then I go 2 counties over in a different name and do it again. The law enforcement doesn't even know these 2 crimes are committed. I mean, I'm sorry, are connected.
Are connected in any way? Yeah.
How is it a different guy? It's a different. I mean,
Yeah. What's going on here? Yeah. And
So
like you said,
it's
everybody's at risk, right? Small, young, old, it doesn't even matter as long as you
so
have a
if
house.
you right. So if you got yourself a real estate attorney, most of the time I think they can correct it through the courts in 3 to 6 months. I think on average. Like I said, it varies. It also varies on the type of crime, because the lender, they may just say, hey, listen, your name is, John Johnson. You've owned the house for 10 years and you just borrowed 4 mortgages on this house. We're foreclosing. You say, no, my identity was stolen too. Oh, I have a police report. They'll be like, we don't care.
Yeah.
And they'll just keep going. So you have to get an attorney to go in front of a judge, for a judge to say, listen, this is not the guy that did this. This is a scam. And so that's a process.
Right. Is that costing you money though? Like of whoever is
A real estate attorney?
Yeah, that's a lot of money, right? I mean,
Yeah. I mean, unless you have a service that's going to pay for it,
right.
then yeah, that could be it could be 20 grand, it could be 40, and it depends on how much everybody fights.
Right. Back and forth, drawn out system. So
This
It's a
is
little-
if you can catch it. What
Right.
happens? Some people don't catch it. When they catch it because they're out of state, or they don't go by their rental property that often. Maybe they catch it when they drive by one day, or a neighbor calls and says, "Oh, did you sell your house?
Right. You're like, what?
What house? The rental property on River Drive."
Yeah.
No, why? Oh, well, because some people just moved in. And you go, well, I have some renters.
Yeah.
No, they left. These are new people. What are you talking about? You go by the house. Some guy just had a closing. He bought the house 2 weeks ago. Him and his family are living in your house because you rented it to someone like me. I transferred the deed. I then put the house up for sale. I sold the house. These people bought the house. And now you're running around saying, that's my house. That's my house.
Right.
These people didn't do anything. They're living in there with their kids. Their kids are in school. Like, how favorable is the court system going to be toward you when you're telling them, this is my house, they were scammed, I want my house back, those people have to leave?
Doesn't work that way. Yeah. That's crazy. Like you said, this title theft, this is fairly new, right? How is the FBI onto this stuff now? Is just like they're more aware of what's going on? Is this happening every day as we speak right now? Is it still happening?
Definitely. It's happening more and more. It's one of the fastest growing crimes out there, or frauds out there, I should say. I forget what the statistic was from the FBI, but they said it was one of the fastest growing white collar crimes out there. That, bank fraud, credit card fraud, honestly, it's difficult now.
Yeah, it's hard. A lot of things in place. Any advice you would give to listeners out there listening today about what we talked about, title theft, what to do, what not to do, first thing you should do?
I would, honestly, I would get a service. If you ask, my recommendation is Home Title Lock. I just love the fact that they don't just notify you. They're with you every step of the way, and they understand it's a process. And so that I like that. And I would stop thinking that you're not vulnerable. The service is, listen, it's so cheap. It's ridiculous. It's like $1 a day or something. So the idea that you wouldn't protect your house is ridiculous. And to sit there and think, oh, that can't happen to me. I don't have equity in my house. I don't need you to have equity. I mean, I'll create the equity. Someone lives next door, or I live there, or none of that changes anything for me. It just changes up the scam slightly.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah, I think that the idea that people think that this can't happen to them is, for a title thief. Listen, it's great. It's great because they just don't, it's happening right underneath their noses, and they just don't think it's even possible.
Yeah.
It's like I'm getting in your car and I'm driving out of the driveway, and you're saying, "What? That's not possible. He must be taking the car for a wash. He'll be back."
He'll be back in 25
Right.
minutes. Yeah. Unbelievable. Before I let you go, any urge, what would you tell your younger self? Any urge you can ever go back to what you did, or you're done with that moving forward? This is a new Matt going forward from here on in.
Oh gosh, I listen. Every once in a while,
Yeah.
I do keynote speeches for banks, title companies, lenders, cyber conventions, and every once in a while, in these things that people will ask me, like, was it worth it? And there are people out there there are criminals out there that will. I've heard them answer that question this way, which is, yeah, it was worth it because it made me the man I am today. Listen, the man I am today is a 56-year-old man, $6 million in restitution, multiple convicted felon. It's, I have family that don't talk to me. My parents, one parent died when I was in prison. One died when I just got out. If I could look, I have nothing but regrets. If I could go back and grab myself and just shake myself and say, this is not worth it. Fraud is not worth it. Behaving this way isn't worth it. Not looking out for your fellow man is not worth it. I would do anything to go back and have that conversation, because nothing I did was worth the time I lost, the people I hurt, and it's not worth it. I mean, thinking you're going to get ahead at someone else's expense is just, it's just a bad idea.
Yeah. Well said. 2026 is almost here, right? Any New Year's resolution for the new year? Anything?
I mean, other than the very surfacey, I need to lose 15 pounds, and at 56, it seems almost impossible. And I have no patience. So I was telling my wife, I said, do you understand? I said that in my mind, I've been dieting for 3 days and I haven't lost 15 pounds. I'm like, and in my mind, that seems reasonable. Why am I not thin?
Yeah. You want it right away, results right away. What's your favorite movie? You have a favorite movie of all time, favorite actor of all time, any kind of movie that just you love to watch and that's your go-to? You know the lines, you know the ending, maybe a reversible ending or something like that. Favorite movie?
It's so funny. I would say it's like I have a top 10, but then I have I'd probably tied for, and this is funny, Gattaca.
Gattaca, okay.
And it's between Gattaca and Shawshank Redemption.
Shawshank Redemption, yeah.
You know what I love about both those movies?
Yeah.
And they're really the same movie. It's about a man who's placed in a situation and he refuses to accept the situation that he's in. He refuses.
Yeah.
He doesn't know how long it will take to change it, but he sets himself up for a plan. He works every day towards that plan, and eventually he prevails, right? It's man overcoming, adversity.
Adversity, yeah.
And it really is, they're both such amazing movies.
That's awesome. You're doing really well, this whole podcast thing. Share with the listeners how they can follow you, your story going forward, where they can find you on social media.
I actually run a podcast on YouTube, but it's also on Spotify and Facebook and all the platforms, really, but it's primarily YouTube based. and it's Matthew Cox Inside True Crime. And what I do is I interview former law enforcement and former criminals. And yeah, it's great. I interview 3 people a week. We put out 2 shorts a day, and it's amazing, and it's a lot of fun, and I like to have fun. I like to
Yeah.
laugh. Not all crying and hugs.
Yeah.
You know, I like to cut up and joke around. I don't really do anything violent. It's mostly fraud type stories. Maybe some bank robbers
Yeah. Here and
thrown
there.
in there.
Yeah.
Throw a bank robber in there. They got a good story every once in a while.
For
Maybe
sure.
a credit card counterfeiter. They're good. They're good for a few laughs.
Go follow Matthew out there. He's doing great work. His podcast. He's almost 1 million subscribers. I'm doing well. Interesting people. And hey, Matt, man, a pleasure having you on Mic'd Up today. This was a lot of fun. I appreciate you, your time, second chances. It's a lot to think about for me as well too. And it's been a good time having you on here. I'd love to have you back on, man, at some point down the road.
Well, thank you for having me.
Sure. I'm Kenford. He's Matthew. This is Mic'd Up. Thanks for listening. Enjoy the rest of your day. We are out. Happy New Year. Hey, that was good, man.